anybody not have a packet for the member meeting, the irrigation member meeting? If you don't have a packet, raise your hand, I'll bring you one. Okay.
Okay, we'll get started here. I'm going to pass the microphone around and we'll do introductions. So everybody introduce yourselves and what you're associated with, and we'll start off with that. And Howard, you're first.
Howard Frisk for McLeod.
Jay Myers from Colfax, North Dakota. We farm and we also are selling the 360 Rain autonomous irrigators.
Mark Vandervorst from Linton, Horsehead Irrigation District I'm with, and farm.
John McCrory from Linton, Mark's neighbor.
Sharon Schermeister, west of Hazelton, by the Hazelton Boat Landing.
Leonard Hibble, Rough Rider Electric Cooperative.
Bill Sheldon Ray, irrigate potatoes and corn and soybeans on Lake Sakakawea, east of Williston.
Steve Knorr, irrigator in McLean County, board member of the Irrigation Association, and presenter today for Farmer's Choice.
Brian Schulich, I live at Crete, North Dakota, grew up a product of Oaks High School, so we farm in a couple different counties there. Grow potatoes for Simplot, corn, and I personally tile quite a bit of our property whenever I can.
Eric Larson, farm with my brother in Dickey and Lamar counties.
Chad Wagner, irrigator and farmer in Ingaville, North Dakota. Farm dirt like in Steve's words this morning.
Jeff Dick, Lisbon, North Dakota, farmer, irrigator too.
BJ Westland, Farmers Conservation Alliance, and I'm from Oregon. So.
Tom Scher, retired from NDSU, where I was the water engineer.
Rob Prue, NDSU Extension. I work in agriculture technology systems.
Greg Mandel, Forest River Colony, also a dirt farmer.
Good afternoon, everybody. Greg Morrison. I'm the new Executive Vice President for NWRA, the Natural Water Resources Association, and I'll be talking to you all in a few minutes.
My name is Landon Dick, and I'm from the Devil's Lake area.
Ryan Rosendahl, Oaks, North Dakota. I'm a Zematic irrigation dealer.
Spencer Hesslinger, Oaks Irrigation Research Site, Oaks.
Heidi Slinger, the research technician at the NDSU Oaks Irrigation Research Site.
Sid Abraham, and I'm a groundwater hydrologist. I work with the Department of Water Resources.
Joe Nett, I manage surface water appropriations for the Department of Water Resources.
Doug Gleason, I farm a Cartwright in northwest North Dakota.
Lee Candy, I manage the Minnesota Valley Irrigation Store here in Bismarck.
Justin Candy, I'm a salesman at the Minnesota Valley Irrigation Store here in Bismarck.
I'm John Paskowski, I'm the state engineer for the Department of Water Resources.
Milton Lindvig, live here in Bismarck. I'm retired from the North Dakota Water Commission.
Lauren DeWitt's another one of the retired guys that farmed out at Kidder County, was an irrigator, and live in Bismarck now.
Dean Steele. I'm an agricultural engineer with NDSU in Fargo. And I've got the sign-up sheet. I don't know where it's supposed to go. Has anybody missed that so far? We're good?
Annika Plummer with North Dakota Water.
Steve Hansen, farmer from the Oaks, North Dakota area. And your chairman, for now.
Danny Quissel, I serve as your executive director for the Irrigation Association.
Okay, thank you all for coming. Appreciate it. With that, does everybody have a packet? Everybody got one? Okay. So we'll just, we'll go to the, after the introduction, we'll go to the minutes of the December 7th meeting. And I'll ask if anybody has any additions or corrections to them. Okay, Lauren DeWitt's moved that we approve the minutes of the December 7th meeting. Is there a second? Doug Gullickson will second it. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? Okay, the minutes are carried. Okay, now we need nomination and election for the irrigation directors for 2025. If you turn the page there, you can see the board of directors. Right now, we typically do a two-year term.
So your board for the Irrigation Association is elected annually at this meeting. There are no term limits. So I reach out to folks, ask if they're still willing to serve, and that's how we develop the slate. You'll notice for 2025 that slate is 12. We can have up to a 13-member board. We did have one board member who elected not to run again for 2025. So we do have a vacancy, and if there is anyone interested in the room, you can put forward your name for nomination to the board at this meeting.
Okay. Anybody interested in volunteering or being elected onto the board? Say the name again. Okay. Justin Candy's been nominated to serve on the board. Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Okay. Yeah, I'm getting educated on Robert's rules here. Okay, so now we'll ask for the vote for Robert Candy, or Justin Candy. You can do that, yes. Okay. Lauren DeWitt's moves that we cast unanimous ballot for the board, for the whole, or stop nominations for the board. Okay, is there a second? Seconded by Eric Larson. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, that will be your new board with Justin Candy. Okay, now we'll vote on the whole board. Sorry, that was my mistake. Okay, Bill Sheldon made the motion. Seconded by Brian Schulich. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay. Motion carried. Okay, with that, I'll have Danny do the 2024 activity update.
Yeah, so I'll just give a brief overview of some of the things that we worked on for 2024. And if I can get you to scroll down to the very last page. There we go. So here's your 2024 activities. I won't go through all of them. I'll just hit some of the highlights. So we're obviously active in the interim, and we are looking forward to the next legislative session, which starts in January. I spent a lot of time talking with legislators about irrigation, about the importance of irrigation, about how irrigation is funded, how it can be funded at the state level. And we did make some progress on that. So last year we talked about the increase in cost share from the State Water Commission, as well as an increase in the cap for the Ag PACE program, which is administered by BND, but the State Water Commission provides funding for that. State Water Commission increased their funding for that program, which increased the cap from $40,000 to $60,000. Steve and I spent some time talking with BND over the last year about increasing their share so that we could get closer to that $100,000 cap, which is what we've been looking for. We did get news from BND late last week that they are going to take a request to the Industrial Commission to increase their share for that program. And if that goes through the Industrial Commission, which we're hopeful it will, that'll increase the cap to $90,000. So we're getting closer and closer to our goal of having that $100,000 cap. We also work with the Water Education Foundation on public tours. We do those in the summer. Had 3 tours that highlighted irrigation. We were really glad to be able to be in the Jamestown area. We toured the Van Ray farm. They won the Irrigation Excellence Award last winter at this meeting. So it was good to see their operation in person. And then we did a tour of the Cavendish Farms facility outside of Jamestown. So got to see potato production from beginning to end, which was really nice. Spent some time in DC working on our Project Pumping Power bill. I don't have a lot of good news on that, except that we will have a new Congress and a new administration, and so things can't move slower than they have over the last couple of years. So maybe it'll move a little bit quicker, and we're going to continue to work on that. That's kind of the big overview, in addition to the suitability analysis, which I know you spent some time talking about this morning with Zulu and Rob, and really appreciate them working on that for us. We're looking forward to having the final report from them early next year, and we'll get that out to everybody when we have it. I'm personally really excited about the county dashboard they're going to put together. I think that will provide some really useful information on a county level for people who are looking at irrigation development. So with that, I will pause, and if there's any questions that anybody has, or if there's anything on the list you want to talk more about, just let me know. Raise your hand or get my attention, and we can talk more. Yeah, so we were really excited. We thought we were getting close. We got favorable hearings on both the House and the Senate. We thought we were going to get some movement on the Senate side, and then so that bill has to run through the Senate Energy and Natural Resources Committee. Senator Manchin from West Virginia, who you've probably heard of, is the chair of that committee, and he decided he didn't like that bill. So that ended progress on the Senate side. He would not let it move out of his committee. He told Senator Kramer that if Senator Kramer wanted to vote on it, he'd be happy to call a vote, and he would make sure it would fail. So that's where we're at. The good news is that Senator Manchin will no longer be in the Senate when the new Congress convenes in January. We will have a Republican chairman of that committee, Senator Mike Lee from Utah. We're fortunate that Garrison has staff in DC that they contract with to provide some lobbying services. They have already started talking with Senator Lee about this bill, so we're hopeful that we'll get some better news out of the Senate with a new chairman in place. I will say it's still going to be a big lift because this bill only helps North Dakota, doesn't impact any other states, and so trying to get it to be a priority for senators from other states continues to be a challenge. The good news is that Senator Hoeven also has a bill that deals specifically with some North Dakota issues, water related, on the funding side. And so we're hopeful that with two bills out there, maybe we could get some momentum for both of them together and get them attached with a larger package dealing with water and move all of those at once. Yes. Yep, and we'll be working, so Senator Kramer's the prime, Senator Hoeven co-sponsors it, and then soon-to-be Governor Armstrong had always introduced it on the House side as well, so we'll need to be working with incoming Congresswoman Fedoracek to get that House companion introduced, and we'll need to do a little work. She's going to have a brand new staff out there, so we'll be doing some work with her staff to get that companion introduced. The other good news with Governor Burgum, hopefully as the Interior Secretary, the Project Pumping Power program runs through the Bureau of Reclamation, which is under the purview of Interior, and so hopeful that he'll be able to work with folks there in the DC office on this particular project. So if and when we get some stuff passed, it'll move pretty quickly. Yeah, Lauren. Yeah, I think that would be a really good thing for this organization to partner with maybe the Missouri River Joint Board, who Ken is working with on that project, and there may be some other entities out there that would be interested in taking a look at that. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so that's the 2024 update and a little bit with the Ag PACE. Does anybody have any questions on the Ag PACE program? Is everybody familiar with it? On how it works?
Has anybody used it personally?
I think in our meeting yesterday, Steve Knorr brought up a very good point about when it comes to terms on that thing. You know, when we all know that irrigators will last 20 plus years, and you know, the terms right now are what, 7 to 12, Steve, roughly, and okay, 5 to 7. So it might be something that we want to keep working on to try to get longer terms with that, along with the interest buy down part of it, just to make it more feasible for everybody to get into the new system with all the pipeline and everything. So okay, with that we'll jump into new business.
Yeah, so I'll talk a little bit about what we got slated for the 25 work plan. Obviously, for the first half of the year, legislative session takes up about 110% of my time. It gets to be really busy. So we're working on that, continuing to have conversations with legislators, particularly about these funding programs. So with the increase in cost share with the State Water Commission, increase in buy down for the Ag PACE program, I'm going to be spending some time with appropriators talking about the importance of having money in that general water bucket for those activities. And then we'll be sharing with them the suitability analysis as well, so they have that information. I know I often get questions from legislators about why there isn't more development in their area. And so that was one of the impetuses for having that study, and particularly that county dashboard. You can pull that information up and show them, you know, what some of the limitations might be in their local area. And then if there's ways we can address those, that's great. Sometimes there's not, you know, if there's a slope issue or something like that. But I think it'll be helpful information for them moving forward. And then we're going to continue to work on the Project Pumping Power and that mRNA bill, hopefully getting both of those moving forward and working with the incoming Congresswoman and then incoming administration and Interior on that too. Those will be kind of the big things. We do have a continued partnership with the Water Education Foundation on those summer water tours. If you guys have ideas on places we should visit, generally what happens is Julie, who does events both for water users and the Water Education Foundation, picks locations, you know, kind of a general area she'd like to be in that we haven't been before, and then we start developing sites around that. So if you've got ideas, please let us know, and if we don't get to them this year, perhaps we will in the future. But I think it's really helpful to show folks boots on the ground what some of these irrigation projects look like all around the state. And we get pretty good attendance from legislators, county commissioners, water board members, the general public. Lots of people come and see what we have to offer as far as irrigation and then the other water projects that happen across the state. So that's kind of an overview of what we're looking at for 2025. I do think looking at some economic analysis on what was lost with the building of the dams, and if we can turn those acres into dollars, I think that would be really helpful. And then, you know, some more conversations we've had is looking at the overall economic contribution that both irrigation and then drainage, especially when we can pull those two things together, what that does for the state as far as a contribution to the economy. And so we'll be looking at the possibility of maybe looking at those numbers and seeing if we can pull those together over the next couple of years.
Okay, thanks, Danny. Does anybody have anything else that, I mean, what's going on? What's on your mind? What would you like done? What would you like looked at? Is anybody?
My comment is most of us would be more productive, many of us would be more productive if we had better drained soils that we irrigate. And we've been through issues with drain number 11 in Sargent County. Jackson Improvement was a challenge. We got another legal drain in the Oaks area. They're a challenge to set up. They're wonderful once we've got them. Currently, I believe opposition is able to pursue challenging them, and in the end, they get their legal fees paid, whether they were correct in pursuing them or not. I don't like that. Is there anything this group could do to discourage that? That's a suggestion I've got for state level. On the federal level, is there anything we can do to pursue buying out the wildlife easements on some of this property?
Anybody an expert on that?
In Kidder County, we have a tremendous number of wildlife easements. You know, it's a prairie pothole region, and when they did those easements, I rented some land from a neighbor. They paid him for 15 acres. They took easements on 480. And they've got those 480 acres tied up. And I know there are maps of what they paid for, not just what they took easements on. And I think they don't want to share those maps. but I know they are out there, and maybe somehow politically we could put some pressure on those people. I don't know, I'm not sure how. But they took so many more acres than they paid for.
So after I brought that up to the session, Jennifer Martin with the DWR stopped me and said that they have those easement acres overlaid on soil. So that doesn't, answer the question, but there is, whether it's soybean group, the corn group, the Land Association of North Dakota, met with them earlier this week. We're gonna move forward with this to address exactly what you're saying, Brian. And how far are we gonna go? I don't know, but I think we can probably all agree there's no better time than now to try to go after these things. With the Chevron deference being overturned, I think that will help. And then with the delegation we have in DC, that should also help too. But to just go, I asked Kale Van Bruggen yesterday about this, and to just go and buy back acres of easement acres, it sounds like a good income for the federal government, but to do that is going to be an uphill battle. The mitigation part of it, to be able to mitigate those easement acres, maybe. And in some cases, I can't say this for sure, but people have told me it's been done. I don't know that for certain, but there is going to be a push with that to try to do something.
As far as those easements, back in the 90s, the Fish and Wildlife lost a lawsuit. It was brought by two farmers up in the Hope area whose land got flooded from, during the wet cycle. And they had easements on, but Fish and Wildlife had done the same thing to them. And they took them to court, and the Fish and Wildlife lost. And my understanding is the settlement, you have to put in an application to have them reevaluate that. They lost a lawsuit specifically about where the boundaries are at the time that the easement was taken out. They can't just do the whole property. My guess is they just ignore that, or they don't they think people will forget about that. The other thing is they can swap out those easements because one of Brian's neighbors down there, Virginia Roberts, when she was alive, Fish and Wildlife kept bugging her that they wanted to swap a piece of land just to the north of her with hers. So they can do that. I don't know if you can buy them out, but they certainly are open to mitigation when they want to do it.
Yeah, and my personal experience is when I asked them, they said, yeah, you can take us to court, but you'll never win. That's what one of the fellows in the Cullum field office told me. And I just kind of dropped it, but now I want to push for it too. So you asked what this group can do for that? Well, that's up to us. And, other than signing on and, that the Irrigation Association, whoever, agrees with this and that we want to push forward with, buybacks, mitigation, whatever it may be. I think one of the, I believe it's soybean growers is also asking for, I know one of the board members on there told me that they are looking to get anything under 1 acre to have it go away. And I don't know how that's possible, but that's what they were looking at. Because if to Lauren, 15 acres over 400 acres, and they're probably scattered off just enough so they put setbacks on there so you can't tile it too. There's been a lot of discussion on the setbacks, and I do know that Ellingson Companies is suing U.S. Fish and Wildlife, and I think Pacific Legal Foundation is representing them. So Pacific Legal is a nonprofit out of California that is representing them. So that's one thing. To the other question on the drainage ditches or conveyance ditches, yeah, it would be nice nice if it was a lot easier and less red tape. I think some of that is being addressed with the resolutions. You know, is some pushback for sure. But yeah, to your concern, it's a lot of other people's concern too, and it is being addressed. Hopefully it's the result that we all want, but it is being addressed.
I was just going to share, and Brian, you know this, so we do joint resolutions with water resource districts, water users, and the Irrigation Association. So we have one policy document for all three of those organizations. The last meeting of the Resolutions Committee is this afternoon, so if you're interested, please come and listen in. And we have quite a few resolutions that deal specifically with water resource districts, building assessment districts, ways we can make that easier. And we'll be working on that during session. I can tell you that is a significant amount of time that both Jack and I spent the last two sessions fighting against bills that were brought by other groups that were trying to make it harder to do drainage, harder to do assessment districts. And they've definitely got the ear of some legislators, and we need to be as engaged as they are in that fight. I think there's probably going to be some really good discussions during legislative session this year, kind of moving in the other direction. We've got a couple of legislators engaged, as you heard on the panel this morning. They're looking at infrastructure overall, and drainage is absolutely a part of that. I think from the Irrigation Association, we definitely, as those issues come up, can spend some time talking with legislators about how important both drainage and irrigation are to producers and how they work together. And I think it's really helpful if producers can share with me some of those stories, and I can then turn around and share with legislators, or even better, get you connected with legislators to share that story, because that's really important as well.
Hi, I'm Xinhua Jia, ag engineer, and also the director for North Dakota Water Resource Research Institute. So we do have like 30 some faculties that UND and NDSU, we all do water research. So if there are any questions that come out from this group, I welcome that question that come to us, so I can share those issues with our research group, and they can write a proposal, get funded somewhere. But they do need the problems to be brought out by this group, so that they know where the problem is. So with the irrigation and drainage, I think one thing I want to emphasize that I did a research on subsurface drainage, which is a tile drainage, and sub-irrigation in Fairmont, which is Richland County. If you're using the same system in the same field doing both works, and we do face the issues with the soil salinity and acidity. So the best water management need to be put in place in order for them to work. But another thing is for irrigation, when you're looking for drainage, may not be the typical drain tiles that working on the east side of the state, the field drainage. What you're looking for is to drain the excess water and also lower the salts that's going to be accumulated in your irrigated field. So that's the drainage for arid area. So the design is going to be way different than the typical subsurface drainage in the eastern part of the state. So by training, we're engineers. If you need some help, let us know. We are here. Thank you.
Okay, does anybody else have anything? Anything at all? Lauren?
Yeah, so since we have a new board member, probably need to have a reorganization meeting probably in January. and we can do board elections at that point. As a reminder, the officers are not term limited, and so can serve as long as the board would like.
Okay. Anybody else? Anything at all? All right, meeting adjourned.
So we'll be back here. The irrigation workshop will start up again at 1:30, and you'll want to be back because Tom Shear is going to talk about wells.